You're listening to the 2.5 Gamer Podcast, hosted by High and Fiber, NBZ, and Fizzy Stardust. Kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, my name is High and Fiber, and welcome back to the 2.5 Gamer Podcast, featuring NBZ and Fizzy Stardust. How are you guys doing today?
Splendid.
Splendidior.
No.
That's Latin for, that's comparative, it means more splendid. So I thought I would just chuck some knowledge in there with
I hate you so much.
Oh man.
Call that a dick move in Canada.
I'm sorry. Fizz is feeling a bit under the weather. So.
And yes, I noticed that there were some issues on the VOD that went up on YouTube where they had some sound issues on that as well. Hopefully those won't happen again. But as always, we have our beautiful logo, drawing, fan art, whatever you want to call it, that Congressional Wombat drew. We were all in tuxedos drinking. Some of us drinking some manly drinks, but then there's Fizzy with a strawberry daiquiri.
Oh yeah, what a laugh.
I've never had a strawberry daiquiri in my life.
He's not actually a midget.
Well, you know.
Compared to the rest of us.
Yeah.
But without further ado, let us jump into things today. We actually have a pretty decent list of topics to talk about, but of course we have to start off with what the fuck have you been playing? Apparently Mike's the only one who's been playing anything this week, so we're going to start off with him.
Bizarro World 2.5 Gamers. So first, Steve really got me excited about WWE 12, so I played it. I bought it used because I figured, hey, there's no risks there, I'll just return it if I hate it. And it kind of sucks. There's cool things about it. Like, it's got a good combat system. It's reminiscent of like the N64 games, like No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000, and like all those THQ titles that came out.
I remember those.
Yeah.
So it's the combat system's a lot like that, and the creative character is killer. It's awesome.
It's amazing if you watch Steve's videos of the things that he's created. It's nuts.
It's really cool what you can do. It's all that stuff. There's a lot of really neat bells and whistles. Problem though is going to be the story mode. I mean, if you don't care at all and you just want to like get it to play with friends and stuff, then I'd recommend go out and get it. I wouldn't get it now. Wait for the price to drop a couple more times. But the story mode's kind of lame. You can't choose your own character to go into story mode with. So if you spent the hour or two creating a character like I did, to expect to go win the title in some crazy cool storyline, you can't do it. You follow 3 different stories, and they're all kind of predetermined. And most of them are just kind of brawl matches, quote unquote brawl, where you have a confrontation with some guy in the back, so you need to end his life, essentially. And, it's just kind of stale. It's really repetitive. It's not that fun. But the actual gameplay is pretty cool. The whole Predator system that they were hyping up, where you can reverse move at any moment, doesn't make that much of a difference. And it's not as cool as, obviously they wanted it to be. But, so that was cool. And then I got a Flash game that you guys all have to check out. It's called Abobo's Big Adventure. And if you don't know who Abobo is,
Abobo.
He's a character from Double Dragon. In the first level or whatever. He's like that really muscly guy with the really angry face that you kick off the roof. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he's that guy. It takes on him. You are Abobo. And it takes you through all these classic Nintendo games, really classic Nintendo titles. First you start off, you're basically playing Double Dragon as Abobo. And then you start beating up guys, and you see people from, it's really a title for an NES player.
Yeah,
basically it's before everybody in the chat's time.
Exactly.
Pretty much. It is a nostalgia fest for the 20-year-old.
That's
there's enemies from Kung Fu. The original Donkey Kong shows up where you have to fight him. you can regain health by a random little kid will walk past the screen. You punch its head off and eat it, and you regain health.
Much like, yeah, that's crazy. Mortal Kombat.
After the first level of Double Dragon, I only got to play a few levels, but I'm going to go right back and play it. You go into a classic Mario swim level.
Oh man! I have to check this out.
And then when you're swimming, you're kind of like Yoshi. You have a long tongue. You stick stuff and you spit it out. And one of the bosses is Jaws from the original Nintendo. And then after you beat Jaws, spoiler alerts everywhere. A bigger shark comes out with a fucking laser strapped to his dome.
Oh my god!
And after that, I think was the next level I played was a classic Legends of Zelda level in which you are a Abobo dungeon crawling. Yes.
Are we talking like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past or Legend of Zelda 2?
The first one that was good.
Okay, so the overworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was killer. And at the beginning of the screen, there is a level select, so you don't need to worry about saving. You'll just start at the beginning of the level in which you left off.
That's awesome.
It's really, really cool. It's funny. Yeah, it's just awesome. Awesome all around. It's got a lot of comedic stuff in it that you'll enjoy. And a nostalgia fest. It's way cool.
I might have to look into this.
That was very cool.
And I told you have to play it.
Yes, you did the other day.
Straight up ignored me.
I didn't straight up ignore you.
What's the name again for confirmation for the stream? The name of the game.
Abobo's Big Adventure.
You want to type it out to the chat,
Yeah.
and that way they can kind of look it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google Abobo's Big Adventure, and it will come up first hit. You can even download it off the site. That way you have like a little flash version on your computer.
So it just downloads the EXE, right? And you just play it like that.
Yeah, it's just like a Flash application, and you can just play it. And they have even a tutorial where you can plug in a controller into your computer, and they walk you through how to run a program in which will allow you to use a gamepad with the game. Because that's the way it feels really right. Yeah.
Especially coming from a Flash game, it's something you would normally not see. But if something's going to have an option to use your controller, that's really cool.
Yeah, they even give you a link to assume the person who's playing it is into the original Nintendo, so they assume you have like a original paddle still, and they give you a link to a converter, USB to NES paddle, which you can buy off Amazon. It's a little pricey, but way cool. I'm actually thinking about putting money down into that.
The real question
That would be crazy.
Does it support the Power Glove?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man.
There's a nostalgia bomb for somebody.
I don't think it would support the Power Glove, because I don't think the Power Glove had a plug-in, did it? Didn't it use that
remember
that you strap to like the top of your TV?
I don't even remember.
Dude, the Power Glove is just like
I never actually owned one. I remember wanting one.
Yeah.
We had one. It sucked. The Power Glove was horrible.
Oh, but dude, they wore it in that one movie with that kid and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
It was great.
He's a bad dude. I know.
Yeah, Power Glove and Virtual Boy are the two things that were lost to the ages. For me, well, I haven't played that much this week. There are a couple of things.
Well, you went home for the weekend too, so you at least have a legitimate excuse.
Yeah, I've come home this weekend, which is why we're not streaming on my Twitch and stuff, because my internet is terrible, comparable at home to my uni internet. So that's why that's happening. But I have spent the longest time on Portal 2. I think I got the game when I first got my PS3, so that was like the start of last summer, and I don't know, it's a game that I have taken a long time to get through, mainly because I knew that people had said it was so great, so I kind of wanted to pace myself with it. I wanted to be like, you know what, this isn't going to last for a relatively long time. I know it's going to be a lot longer than the original one, which I still haven't played the original Portal. I'm kind of waiting for that to drop back to free on Steam so I can just pick it up. But but I knew it was a decent length, like 10 hours or so, whatever. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to pace myself with this. And another thing that kind of happens when I play Portal is, I'm not sure how many people this happens to, but I do kind of get motion sick, especially when you're falling through a portal and you don't know where you're headed, like what direction you're in. So it depends on the type of portal you fall through, but I do get a little bit motion sick from that, which is really weird. It doesn't normally happen. It's just the nature of the beast, nature of that game, is that it kind of makes you feel a bit woozy dependent on how you go through portals. So it kind of worked out that I could only really play for about an hour to an hour and a half at a time. So that's kind of what I did. And, sometimes I would get stuck on a puzzle. It would take me longer, so I wouldn't really make as much progress as I would like to. But it is a phenomenal game. I really have enjoyed my time with Portal 2. It's been a crazy experience. Very, very good. Definitely one of my favorite games of last year. And I'm so agonizingly close to the end. Like, today I was trying to play some because I was doing work earlier today, and I was like, okay, I've finished my work, I'm gonna hop onto Portal, see how much I can do. I get through like a couple of rooms or a few rooms, and then I have to go out again because I went to play badminton with my sister, and then I came back, jumped on it again, did another couple of rooms, and I know I'm so close to the end. I'm on chapter 9, and I'm just agonizing, like it's within grasp. Literally, I think I'm about 15 to 20 minutes from the end of the game, but I haven't quite finished it. Yeah, I definitely will before I go back to uni. So that will be another game ticked off the bucket list, which will be fantastic. I really I like getting going with that, getting stuff ticked off. I think that's a nice aim for me to have for the show, is to have a game every week that I've ticked off the bucket list. That would be kind of cool.
Well, that certainly entices you to play games.
Exactly.
Especially, when we have this opening segment where we're talking about what we're playing.
Yeah.
I know I have a lot of games on my list that I have to play too, but
yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to get through. But yeah, Portal 2 is fantastic. Definitely, if you're one of like the 3 people in the world who still hasn't played it, then play it. I guess. I'm not sure.
I've only played like the co-op with my nephew.
Yeah,
and that was infuriating.
I really want to go through the co-op as well. I think I'm gonna have to hit up Ferris about that and see if we can.
I essentially played the co-op by myself.
Really?
I mean, my nephew was there in the holding the controller.
So you did the split screen.
I had to go shoot your portal over there so we can make this happen, okay, buddy?
So you're doing the split screen multiplayer then?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Is it good with the split screen, or is it a bit more different? Is it kind of cramped?
It was okay. It wasn't too bad, actually.
Alright, that sounds good. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to hit up Ferris, and we're going to try and go through that whenever we get time, when I'm at home, and when everything when the stars align, we shall co-op through Portal 2. So yeah, I'm hoping to finish that probably tomorrow, because I can't go downstairs after this, because the PS3 is in the room that my sister sleeps in, so it's a bit of a pain to get on that, and that's another bit of an issue, because I like playing games, in the evening, and that's annoying. So I'll definitely get that done. I have a lot on my PS3 to finish. I have Uncharted 2, which I still haven't finished. I got Arkham Asylum, which I'm only like a few hours into, but I love the game, and I just haven't had enough.
So good.
I think what I want to do is I want to clear out Uncharted 2, and then just concentrate on Arkham Asylum and get that one knocked out, so I can get Arkham City and then Uncharted 3 as well. So I'll try and do those. But for this weekend, my goal, Portal 2, which I will definitely finish that up. And then the other thing which I played this week, which isn't really too significant, but worth mentioning, I think, is there was a demo on the 3DS eShop, which was for a game which was originally a PSP title. It's called Crushed. I'm not sure if either of you guys have heard of this game.
Doesn't recall.
Okay, well, it's basically a platformer which plays around with 3D space in a really interesting way, and I really understand why they've brought this to the 3DS as a port, because what you essentially do is you go along these platforms, and depending on the angle of the camera, you hit one of the shoulder buttons, and it compresses the screen. So if you're like on this platform just out in the middle of space, and you're just on the platform and there's nothing touching it, and then you swivel the camera so that the platform lines up with a platform in the background and the foreground will merge, allowing you to go across and then up to the other another platform, and then you hit the button again, and they'll unmerge, and then you'll be back in the 3D space. So it kind of twists between 2D and 3D quite a lot. It's a very interesting kind of concept for a platform game. But the demo was on the eShop, and I gave it a quick try, and it's very interesting. It's kind of the sort of puzzle game that I would be interested in. It is a retail title. I think that it would lend itself really nicely as a downloadable game, but it is only 20 quid. It's actually coming to America as a GameStop exclusive. Again, that's another issue that we kind of touched on last week, those exclusives. But it's coming as a $20 GameStop exclusive, and I think that that's a really good price for it. So I may well pick this up in the future, and I may well have a bit more to say about it, but it's a very interesting game, and something that I guess I'll look into in the future. So there you go.
Awesome.
Not
I want to get my hands on.
What are you going to get? Yeah,
I want to get my hands on Twisted Metal.
Because
I just got my latest issue of Game Informer, and I was flipping through it, and like, oh yeah, look, they've reviewed Twisted Metal, whatever. It's going to be a decent game. And I started looking at the pictures, and something I didn't know about this game is that there are mech forms.
Oh,
That's cool.
Transformers stuff going down.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah. That's awesome.
Some of the bosses look ridiculous in that game.
So, look forward to next week. I'll hopefully be talking about that if we have time to do a podcast.
Yeah, so
we'll worry about that.
Yeah, we'll worry about that later. But
we had enough issues with this one. Let's not worry about it.
Okay.
Yes. It's going to be about that one.
All right. Awesome.
So I happen to have played something this week too.
Oh, what did you play, sir?
Well, my typical League of Legends stuff like that, but earlier this week I resubscribed to Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this again.
Hey, asshole, shut up.
Make us all
I'm sorry, I'm really jealous about it.
My friend convinced me to replay, or resub rather, and we kind of started leveling up together, and then I got ahead of him because he just wasn't playing. And he's like, well, I have a level 30, so if you just want to catch up to that one, we'll continue to play then. So I've got 18 hours of gameplay, and I'm level 22. But I know the story of my class to the point where I'm at now, so we've really just kind of been mashing the spacebar to just skip all the cutscenes. But honestly, this week I've been much less of a gamer and more of a spectator. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep from the last 2 nights.
Because you're crazy!
So, if I seem a little out of it, that's why. I stayed up last night to watch the Intel Extreme Masters finals. I watched, of course, some of the Counter-Strike and the StarCraft stuff, but really I wanted to watch the League of Legends finals. And I don't know how many of the people in the stream have been to play League of Legends and follow the competitive aspect of it. I don't want to spoil who won. I will say that I was a little bit disappointed, not because the team I wanted to win didn't win. It was more along the lines of the fact that it was just so completely one-sided, and it was unfortunate that it didn't go to a best of 3 I felt like it it should have. But honestly, like I said, more of a spectator this week. I caught up on all my shows, like Spartacus Season 2, which is awesome.
I've never seen Spartacus. Sorry. Spartacus.
I think that is a show you need to watch.
Really? I should probably go find that on the internet legally somewhere. Yeah.
Spartacus and Game of Thrones are probably the 2 shows that I would recommend to anybody above anything else at this point in time. They are both fantastic.
Awesome. That's good.
But I do have some stuff.
No test.
What about The Walking Dead?
The Walking Dead is probably number 3 on my list, for sure. I actually have some of that to catch up on as well, but
yeah, me too.
Last night was Spartacus, because I just completely forgot about Season 2, and I've been putting it off. I was like, I'm going to sit down. It's not Andy Whitfield, and I'm sad, but I do feel like the new guy is an acceptable replacement. He's pretty good. He's obviously never going to be Andy Whitfield, which is an issue that anybody who ever replaces anything will have. If anybody ever plays the Joker, they will always be compared to Heath Ledger, and nobody can compare to Heath Ledger's performance.
Well, Mark Hamill did a damn good job in the games. But...
but they're games.
Well, yeah, he was also in the original. Animated. Yeah. But do you want to see Mark Hamill on screen?
No.
Not really.
Right.
But
Alright,
I do
yeah.
have actually a lot of games that I need to play, both on the PS3, and I have some Steam games that I need to catch up on, and even just some TCGs that I have that I've tinkered around with that I enjoy, that I'd like to get in. So hopefully next week I'll have actually played something rather than just being a spectator. But always for me, I'm not even going to bother saying I play League of Legends, because I will probably play at least 3 games a week.
Yeah.
So you could pretty much assume that I'm playing that.
Mhm.
But obviously my life isn't as exciting as Mike, who buys used WWE 12 and hates it.
Hey man, used return policy is titties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
If you can just
that is
throw
what-
down 50 on a game and then just know you're gonna get 50 back at the end of the week, it's fine.
Except
It's a
that's
free rental.
True.
why not just do GameFly for like $7 a month?
I wish we had
because you
GameFly
lose that
here.
$7.
That would be good. Oh, well.
Actually, I'm considering GameFly subscription. Maybe someone will
They
talk
don't have
to us.
anything like that here. They just don't have anything.
Because you suck over there.
Well, yeah, pretty much, but what?
Speaking of sucking over there, I feel like that's a good segue into fuck Japan, we want this.
Indeed.
Oh, yes!
What a
pretty good-
segue.
I kind of forced that segue because I felt like we would have gone off on a tangent.
We really need to get like some audio clips as like intros to each segment. Some guy saying "fuck you, Japan, we want this," and then like some audio clip. That would be cool.
We have a lot of things that I'd like to add.
Yeah,
and a lot of
music as
things that
well.
we're working on. And, as I get better with certain things, hopefully we'll be able to add those in.
Yeah.
But without going too much off the tangent, let's jump back into the topic at hand. Japan has a few Vita titles that have been dropped. These are titles that we are not sure if they are coming to North America in the future, or if they are going to be Japan only. And much like how we had a little bit of a recurring theme with, exclusives, I have to bring up the Dreamcast again, which we talked about last week. And the reason being, one of the greatest games on the Sega Dreamcast was a game called Phantasy Star Online. It was one of the first MMOs, especially on a console. In fact, I believe it was the first MMO based on a console. I could be wrong there.
It might well be, yeah.
Anybody who had a Dreamcast probably played it. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because the Vita is getting Phantasy Star Online 2, which is friggin' cool. I know a lot of people who are really excited about that. They're also getting Persona 4. The Persona series is really good. There's a Gundam Seed game. I think it's more of a fighting game, kind of like Street Fighter and stuff like that. But the big thing, and it hasn't been confirmed yet. It was kind of leaked, but there's no real news towards it, is that the Vita is going to get a Monster Hunter game. It is, let me pull it up. I think it's like Monster Hunter Portable 3 for the PlayStation Vita, which
Portable 3,
comes
so
out,
that's going to be just 3 again, but like try G on the 3DS. It's going to be the same game again, basically, but just for the Vita.
Yeah, considering that the Vita sales have actually dropped again, especially in Japan, I think this could really help them take that step up. So we'll see how that goes around. Of course, like we talked about last week, Monster Hunter is a series I would love to see come to North America in a proper format. Not to hate on the one that's on the Wii at all. I just think the PS2 version was the only real proper Monster Hunter we've had. But
that was the PSP Monster Hunters as well, which in Japan got a hell of a lot of success, and I think lots of people enjoyed those. And
well,
I guess in terms of graphical power, the PSP one was around PS2 quality. So,
let's put it this way: if you put Monster Hunter in the title in Japan, it's gonna do well.
Exactly. So
it's like putting Call of Duty in the title in North America. The games are terrible. You're buying $60 DLC, exactly. But they're going to sell like hotcakes every year.
Right. But I mean, this bodes well, I think, because it means that the Vita is not nailed to death in a coffin in Japan.
Just yet.
Otherwise, if it hadn't got any kind of Monster Hunter support, then it really would have been, I think.
I think, that would have been the nail in the coffin. The Vita would be like, all right, So I think that would be the thing that Sony says, okay, I think we need to take a step away from the handheld market.
Yeah. No, but it's good because I think we need some healthy competition between the handhelds because there really hasn't been any. Nintendo dominate handhelds and always have done, and PSP proved that Sony don't know how to work in the handheld space. But by getting this kind of deal, it looks to make the Vita a bit more competitive, and maybe we'll see some more interesting stuff happening. So there you go.
In fact, the only quote-unquote handheld that has ever compared or competed with Nintendo, and it is the recent stuff, it is the freaking iOS crap. All of your mobile gaming. I think that's the only thing ever.
It's really the only thing that's properly competed with them. I mean, stuff like the Game Gear and stuff.
The Game Gear was a huge flop. I had one, and I was like, why did I get this?
Yeah.
No, I love the Game Gear. I love the shit out of the Game Gear.
The only game I enjoyed on the Game Gear was Sonic, and I was like, why don't I just play the one I have on the Genesis?
It's portable, bitch. It took 6 AA batteries.
It was huge.
Portable.
It was huge.
Whatever. Who cares? You know
I
what?
had a Game Boy Micro that I could fit in the palm of my hand, and then I had
a Game Gear. I still have.
Is it working? Can we get some footage of this? You totally upload a video with you playing the Game Gear. I would want to see that.
All I have
I want to see you upload your home
NBA
videos, but you're not going to do
God.
that.
Yeah, I still have a Game
Underpants!
Gear. The thing about the Game Gear, though, is it was so ahead of its time.
It was pretty. I think
all it had to compete with was the Game Boy Pocket, I think. Like, the Game Boy Color hadn't even been out yet.
The Game Boy Pocket,
dude, the Game
Gear was
a
disaster in itself.
You know,
I'll give you one thing about the Game Boy Pocket. It was unique.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, wasn't it like it was like you bought separate ones for different games, or did it actually have little cartridges? I don't remember.
No, the Game Boy Pocket, you'd still fit normal cartridges. It's just smaller.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different thing. There was like this little tiny one. It was like a Tamagotchi-sized Game Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I thought that was, for some reason, I don't remember what that was called.
I don't know.
But Game Gear. I suggest everyone get one.
Game Gear.
Actually, I'll see if I can find it.
Segue quickly. Recent announcement that Game Gear support is coming to 3DS.
I was just looking at that.
So,
my dreams have come true.
I'm not. I shit you not. Nintendo announced that Game Gear support is coming to the 3DS Virtual Console,
you will be able to get Game Gear titles through the eShop. So, this is actually something I linked to MVZ the other day, but he jumped the gun to me, man.
Why did you link it to me? Fuck you guys.
You're talking about
awesome.
I did.
So
I'm stoked.
This is what happens when you try and run a podcast separately instead of having everybody together. I tell MBZ some stuff and I tell Fizz some other stuff.
Yeah.
Never the same stuff.
Yeah, never the same.
That's awesome.
But
I'm excited about that. Any dates on that?
Let me pull it up.
Within the next month in Japan, definitely. And we're not quite sure as to when it'll be hitting the Western regions, but definitely soon. And so if all you youngins have never played a game, I've never played a Game Gear personally. Like, I was far too young before.
Recent report. I'm quoting NintendoFrontier.com right now.
Mm-hmm.
Recent reports now show that the Game Gear will be heading to the Nintendo eShop next week for both the US and EU. The 3 games that will be launched first include Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble, Shinobi, and Double Crystal. You can expect to get your hand on these games March 15th.
So that's in 5 days.
Sometime this week.
God.
This week.
I have that day off too. Oh my god.
I think we just made.
That is
dreams.
Thursday. I think. Oh.
Shinobi all day long. Shinobi all day long.
So, if you've never played a Game Gear, then this is your time to test the waters and see.
Yeah, you don't have to get a giant fucking thing that takes 6 AA batteries. Use your 3DS.
6 AA batteries was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Batteries were pretty expensive back then too. It's not like you could afford like 6 AA batteries all that effing time.
But I mean, it needed it because it was practically the
6 AA batteries all the.
It was practically the console in your hand. So.
Yeah, I mean that was the cool part of it. I mean, it had the illuminated screen. It was color. It was badass. I mean, I don't remember. Okay, look. I used to go to bed at like 9 o'clock because that was my bedtime back then, and then I
stayed
pulled
up
blankets
like
up.
2 hours.
Yeah, I stayed up to like 11, and I put the blankets up
Yeah.
over my head, turned on that shit, and played in the dark for a couple
so
hours.
many people have done that some way or another. I did it with my Game Boy Color. I had to put my flashlight on, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah, I gotta
yes.
play Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely.
That reminds me of one time me and my friend went camping in the backyard, and we had flashlights and a single Game Boy. So we would take turns playing Wario, and the person who's not playing held the flashlight on the Game Boy.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the.
I remember way back in the day when Melee was still brand new. I went over to my friend's house, and he had a tent set up in the backyard, one of those really big tents.
Right.
And he had like a bed in there and a TV and a GameCube. And that was where he gamed. It was out there, and we'd have one person or two people playing Melee, and the other person would be playing a handheld. There was the Game Gear because he had one, or Game Boy Color. It was really cool.
That's awesome.
Dude, I've so many stories from Melee days. So much good stuff back then. It's so funny, dude. It's great.
I still love Melee.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was very good.
Does Japan have any more things that we want?
I
think that was it.
That was actually something that I just stumbled upon. I was like, hey, we
Yeah.
could use this. And it's actually really cool. So I'm really excited for Phantasy Star Online. Personally, I don't own a Vita, and there's a very small chance that I will buy one anytime soon, or at all for that amount, or just unless it goes down in price to a point where it's like, I can just pick this up. I have some spare money. But if I did, that would probably be the only game I played, unless Monster Hunter came to America.
Right on.
Yeah.
So should we move on to Harold Newsmar?
Harold Newsmar was yeah.
We'll start earlier in the week. This is something that I saw, and I was a little sad, but I was also kind of excited for. Peter Molyneux, I'm going to butcher his name.
Molyneux.
Peter Molyneux.
Molyneux.
He leaves Lionhead Studios, and a lot of you might not know the name, but you'll know who he is. This is the guy behind the Fable series. He's the guy who created it. He basically did it, and he decided to leave Lionhead Studios in favor of a new company. We're not really sure what it is aside from its name. We know it's called 22 Cans, which is kind of an odd name.
I like it.
Yeah, sounds cool.
And we don't know if it's gaming, but this guy has been around gaming since like the 80s, so I highly suspect that it is a gaming publisher of some sort, or developer rather of some sort. So, but we don't know whether there's going to be, mobile games or console games. This is also something we're going to have to wait and see. So, like I said, I'm a little sad that he left, but I'm excited to see what he's going to bring in the future. I mean, Fable 1 is, in my opinion, hands down the greatest in that series, but it was one of my favorite games. I have played Fable 1 on the PC probably 27 times, and I've only
That's batshit crazy, man.
Wow. I've only finished it twice. It's just I've played it so
Wow.
Yeah, Fable was pretty killer. I loved Fable when it came out.
Fable 2, I was a little disappointed in. I felt it was way too short, and then I just haven't played 3 yet.
Mm-hmm.
Probably something I'll do at some point, but...
Now, the interesting thing about his final project for the studio is going to be the Fable Connect-driven, on-rails, weird-as-fuck thing they showed at E3, which I don't really think is going to be very interesting.
Which is why he's jumping ship now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's got to be a big
I'm
reason.
sorry, anything that puts that much emphasis on the Kinect is just not going to do well.
It was ridiculous. I mean, we talked about how fucking stupid the Microsoft E3 conference was with the stupid Disney kids and all that ridiculous shit. But, that Fable thing, it looks cool, yeah, but who the fuck's going to stand up in their living room to play an on-rails magic shooter? Like, what the hell? It doesn't.
Yeah,
It's so
I would just
gestures
like to-
everything. It's ridiculous.
I'll just play
I was not
devil's
having any of
advocate
that.
for a second here. I'd just like to point out that there were a fair number of on-rail stuff for the Wii U that wasn't shown at E3 as well. And they're like, this is really cool!
There wasn't anything on rails for the Wii U shown at E3.
There was Yeah, there was. There was that like Ninja Star shit.
No, that's not. That was just a weird thing. That wasn't a demo. That wasn't one of the experiences. That was just part of the trailer. That wasn't actually a thing. I don't think.
Yeah, but I would put money on.
There won't be. I mean, not in terms of this sort of ridiculous over-the-top motion control type of thing. There wasn't anything of that nature. The thing with the Wii U demos at E3 is they weren't really anything extensive. They were lots of type of minigame more type stuff, and there was the Zelda interactive thing, which was probably the most impressive thing there. But it was nothing really fleshed out, and I doubt that there's going to be anything similar to an on-rails type thing for the Wii U. So, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, another news story, something that we touched on last week, is the rumor about Steambox. Someone in the chat was actually just asking about it.
Yeah, it's something that's
So
actually been mentioned a few times, and it's.
Yeah, so I thought I'd bring it up now. Valve actually is denying the Steam console rumors.
Okay, let's clarify this. They're not technically denying it. What they're saying is, yes, we have been working on something. Whether or not it's a console, they have not confirmed or denied, but they have said if this is a console, it is not coming out in the foreseeable future.
Yes.
So you will likely not see anything at E3 before 2013.
The direct quote was a long way from Valve shipping out any sort of hardware.
Yeah.
They're a long way.
Now they might be pulling a fast one on us there. They might just be trying to cover their asses, and then they'll be like, oh, gotcha! And then at E3 they pull out the Steam box. I mean, it's possible. They could well do it if they wanted to.
I don't know. I don't think Valve would try and pull the wool over our eyes in that sense. I would think that they'd want to build up as much hype as possible, so if they were doing it and it was coming out in the near future, that they would say, yes, we're doing it, we will show it at E3.
Yeah, I guess.
I think that, especially in a console race like we have right now, the Xbox 360 has been the highest selling console for like 12 or 14 months in a row, some ridiculous number.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft's doing really well, and they're expected to show their new console at E3 this year. So you have that to compete with. The PlayStation 3 has really stepped up its game when they've really kind of pushed forward their "it only does everything" campaign. So for Steam to just say take a step back, we're not doing this, and then show it at E3, yeah, it'd be good. But I think that in the 4 months that we have, whatever we have. 4 months, I think it is, leading up to E3, you want to build up as much hype as you possibly can, because this is something that will help change the game. It is either something that's going to corner the market completely, because it will likely be 100% digital distribution, which we actually are going to talk about in a little bit as well, or it's going to be a massive bomb. And if it is a massive bomb and they just, show it up, yeah, they don't really lose anything compared to if they had put up all of this hype. But if it's something that they don't pull up hype for, I think that they're not going to get as well received. A great example I personally find is Dota 2. They are really, really restricted in how many people they've been led into their beta. I got into that. I played a little bit of that, but I'm not a huge Dota fan. And it is a game that I do not think is going to be super popular. Which is sad, because the original Dota is how we have games like Heroes of New Earth, League of Legends, Smite, and all of the other MOBA games. But this is going to be a game that everybody will buy on its release, and they're trying to keep some hype for it, but then it's going to be something that you see die out really, really quickly in favor of even the original Dota, perhaps, because there's not a huge difference except for graphics between the Switch. And then, of course, Riot Games has actually reportedly become the highest earning PC developer, including beating out Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, the guys who make World of Warcraft. Considering Riot has a free, microtransaction market, if they're making more than World of Warcraft, that's saying a lot. So that's kind of my thoughts on the whole Steambox thing. I think you have to build up the hype.
I think it would help a lot. Yeah.
Dota is a massive online. Blizzard's owned by Activision. by the way. It's Activision Blizzard. That is their official name. But going back to the question, Dota is a massive online battle arena. It has similar feels towards an RTS as well as an RPG. You basically play a champion, and your job is to destroy the enemy base. So, if you want to learn more of it, there's Google. I do a lot of League of Legends stuff on my channel. It's very similar to Dota. You can go ahead and look at that there, but I'll shamelessly promote myself later. And I feel like we've been railing stuff a lot.
Is Dota exclusively multiplayer?
Yes, all of them are. There is no... Well, that's not true. You can play Dota 2 against bots, but you have to have an internet connection. There's no story. It is basically you pick a dude and you fight other dudes trying to destroy a building.
Sounds dude-ish. Dude bro.
Dude bro. Bay life.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't believe we just said that's a League of Legends reference that none of you are going to get.
People who are not me will get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe I'll just play League of Legends more.
Maybe.
Well, you don't have to play League of Legends to get the reference. That's more just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly not going to watch it if I don't play it.
No.
Come on. I don't know. My friend who does not touch StarCraft loves watching StarCraft. I don't get it.
I don't understand that. Like, I don't get
it.
I guess
StarCraft, though, it's actually interesting to watch. I don't play StarCraft because I'm not Korean.
Yeah.
Wait, what? I didn't say that. But
I tried to watch some StarCraft. Like, I tried. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I just don't know.
If you don't understand anything, you're not going to enjoy watching it. Yeah. But if you understand little bits, if you've played the single player, you kind of know what the units are and stuff like that. It's really cool to watch, especially at an esport competitive level. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. They did their finals today. I didn't watch the StarCraft finals because I don't follow it very well. But, I mean, even you just look at, not even the screen of the in-game stuff, if you look at the camera pointed at the people, the focus, like, you see these dudes just moving their hands at ridiculous rates. And the reason I said you got to be Korean is their APM, their actions per minute, is really, really high compared to North Americans or Europeans, which is why, the Koreans are typically the highest tier in the StarCraft 2 circuit. That's not entirely true. There are Europeans and North Americans that do well, but just...
Korean dominates.
It's a Korean-dominated esport. And it's, like I said, it's really, I think it's nuts to see these guys just stare at their screen. They're not even looking at their keyboards. They know their hotkeys. Their hand is never not moving. It's just
They could get punched in the face.
So true. Jeez.
Like, he gets punched in the face, like, I gotta get another drone out.
They're fucking crazy, man.
I
Koreans.
saw a picture that my friend posted on Facebook, and it was a joke. It was... a picture of all of these attractive Korean girls said, "You want to marry me? You have to beat my dad at StarCraft." And I, of course, saw that, and I was like, well, these girls are never getting married.
Yeah.
So...
That's great. That is great.
Oh, goodness.
But yes, that was an extremely derailed topic.
I don't know what we're talking about now. What the fuck we started on, but here we are.
Let's go on to scrolls.
We start, well, I know how we got derailed, but I'm not going to continue to
doesn't matter.
Never mind.
Camlocks, we do not have McBoss in the call. We tried contacting him earlier to bring him in so we could have some guests, callers that want to come in and talk about some of the stuff we have going on. Unfortunately, he has not replied, and that's a bit of our own fault for not,
but things we got busy, so
we got kind of busy. We didn't really coordinate really well. To be honest, we initially intended for this podcast to be done at like 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon in the Eastern time. And of course, MBZ had some family stuff he did. Mm-hmm. Fizzy woke up late, and it just didn't happen. But we're still here.
Yeah.
I promise that we will do some...
If we can... I don't know if there's anyone on Skype that we can use this with. But
the issue is for one of us to be paying really close attention to the stream chat as well as bringing people in and out of Skype while still managing to be involved in the podcast is little.
None of us have the brain power.
That no, it's not necessarily the brain power. It's one of those things where, me personally, it's hard for me to coordinate everything because this is technically my podcast, and I don't want to dedicate myself to doing too many things. MBZ has done a wonderful job with getting us on iTunes, even though he's like, I got us like 2 megabytes for the bandwidth, and we had one person download it.
Yeah,
I know.
So I promise that in the future, hopefully the next one, we will have people be able to call in. Unless we have somebody we can quickly get that is able to bring people in and out. If Zoe wants to do it, that's up to her.
That's fine. It's fine. We'll roll on.
I take a swig of my amp and we continue.
Okay.
As Fizzy mentioned, I'm sure most of you have heard by now that Bethesda, the creators of the Elder Scrolls series, had issues with Mojang and Notch because they wanted to name their next game Scrolls.
Which is fucking stupid! Like, what the hell? It's a word! It's like, we have this word in our game, so because we have this word in our game, we actually have copyright on the word, so you're not allowed to use the word, so, sorry. So, yeah, it was stupid. I think it was
especially when it is a item
that
is used in Diablo. It's used, I'm pretty sure it's used in like any fantasy RPG ever.
Fantasy based has scrolls in it. Like, what the fuck?
So, but that lawsuit has officially been, I don't know if it's been dropped or what, it's over.
It's over.
And Mojang is going to be keeping the word as the title, as I'm pretty sure everybody who ever heard about this believed was going to happen. There's no way Bethesda was going to win a lawsuit that says they stole our title. He didn't call it the Elder Scrolls, he called it Scrolls.
Jeez.
He didn't even call it Scrolls the Elder.
Yeah, like it's...
But I guess on the topic of Scrolls, are either of you interested in Scrolls? I know, Fizz, you're with the TCGO, you're interested in card games, and this is essentially a card game. So would you be interested in Scrolls or not?
I have no idea what Scrolls is, essentially.
Okay.
But you just told me it's like a card game.
It basically is, yeah.
I could potentially be interested in it. I trust Notch, because Minecraft was pretty cool. I mean, I resisted Minecraft for the longest time. I was like, how on earthly earth could this ever be fun? I got Legos in my closet. I'll just pull out some Legos and play Legos.
I had Legos in my closet.
I was wrong, because it's, Minecraft's pretty legit. So yeah, I at the very least will give Scrolls a shot. I'm on board with Notch now, so whatever he does, I'll try it out at the very least.
My thoughts on the matter is, Minecraft is a fantastic sandbox, but as a game, it's not very good. And the interesting thing that some people don't know about Minecraft is if it did not get all of those the betas, the alphas, if those weren't released, Minecraft would never have come to be. Mojang was bleeding money. They were not able to finish the game. So they decided, let's put this out there. Not only can we get people to test it and say what the problems are, but we're going to be able to generate some money. And honestly, if it wasn't for the YouTube community building up this sandbox, it would never have been as successful as it is. And it is freaking huge. I mean, you look at the Yogscast, which have become,
They are the number one British subscribed channel.
Between the Yogscast and Captain Sparkles, I believe, are the two biggest Minecraft dedicated channels. You've got 2 million subscribers. Obviously, that's not 2 million people, it's 2 million subscribers. But that is a huge, huge number. So YouTube has really pushed this media out to us and said, look at this, get this, it's really addicting. And it is. I'm not going to say Minecraft is boring. As a game, it lacks a lot of the things that a game needs.
It lacks direction. It's just a sandbox. It promises you that it expects the player to design. It expects the player to be the innovator. It essentially makes you a game designer, as it were, as opposed to giving you an objective and making you complete it. It's a very different type of experience.
One of my biggest issues with Minecraft when I first started was there wasn't even a tutorial. You are thrown in the middle of nowhere, and you are expected to know what you're doing. I spent 10 minutes punching a tree. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then I went and looked up a video on YouTube from, I think it was Paul Soar Jr. that I ended up watching. And he was like, you have to hold it down. You can't just continuously click. And I was like, what the fuck?
Every single person who plays Minecraft makes that mistake. It's ridiculous.
But, so, going back to Scrolls, because that was where we were originally. Yeah. I want to see how they present it. If this is something that, you know, they have to put out into a beta as well, and I don't necessarily think they would have to with the success that Minecraft has had, but I would like to be able to get, you know, that half-price beta access, if you will, to kind of test the waters. And when you think about it, Minecraft, I paid $20 for it.
Yeah, I mean, you pay, if you got in straight away, then you paid little money for it.
If you were like the alpha people, you paid like $10.
Yeah, Steve did alpha, and he was like, he paid nothing, like £6, something ridiculous, so.
And I mean, an actual game, Terraria is an actual game, that game cost me like $3 on sale. So, it's gonna be one of those things where I'll probably get it because there's no real risk. If it's over $20, I'll probably wait. But if it's, you know, I can get it for $10 to $20 or even less, I'll probably look into it. I do a lot of TCG stuff kind of on my own time. A lot of more lesser known TCGs. So I'll certainly give it a shot, but hopefully I'll be able to experience it beforehand, whether it's through YouTube, which I know Mojang loves their YouTube community because they know that if it wasn't for the YouTube, they wouldn't have a company anymore.
No.
So I'll probably wait to see if it's something that looks interesting. I'll get it. To be completely honest, I've not really been following it. I know way back when this whole retardedness started, I was like, oh wow, really? But then I was, you know, the next day I like forgot about it, went back to playing Torchlight or whatever that was playing at that moment in time, and it wasn't a big deal to me. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think Mojang is typically pretty good. The one thing that Mojang does really, really well that a lot of companies do and really benefit from is their modding scene.
Their modding scene's amazing, yeah. Minecraft stuff.
If you don't have a mod support, typically your game isn't going to be as well received. I mean, look at Skyrim. Once they got their modding system, people found that game to be much more enjoyable because, you know, Skyrim, you know, it's a good game. I've played it. My Steam doesn't say I've played it very much, but I have played it quite a bit. No, I didn't pirate it. Don't worry, I actually bought the game. But it was just one of those things where I played it for a little while. I was like, this is awesome, and then I got, you know, a few hours, and it's like, all right, well, this is cool. It's a giant sand. It's a game, but it's better suited to be a sandbox, which is why I love their modding scene, because you could basically do whatever you want. I've seen some really crazy modding videos on YouTube, so.
Yeah, definitely. But no, Scrolls looks very interesting. It's just completely radically different to Minecraft. And it's a game with design and objectives and, you know, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how Mojang do with that kind of game.
I think that's the most interesting part, is that it's so different from Minecraft, because I know that Mojang have done, you know, some small side stuff. Like they had that design a game in a day competition.
Yeah, the notch.
And it was essentially a 2D, like an 8-bit Minecraft.
It was an 8-bit Minecraft. It was awesome. Yeah,
it's really nice to see them kind of step out of their comfort zone, which is, of course, doing a sandbox, and doing it to a TCG, or not necessarily a TCG, whatever it is. That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Like it's a radical shift. It's not like we went from doing a sandbox semi RPG to just getting a story, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We went from game A to game X, so
Exactly. It's complete change. So it'll be very interesting to see how diverse they are as a company and as a game developer, and whether they can just garner the same success with this kind of game. So one to watch out for, one to follow for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
it's probably something we'll talk about again in the future.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guarantee we will.
Yes. Anyways, what have we got up
guys,
next?
Big rumor, perhaps?
Hit me. Hit me with your
the
rumor
next-
dick. Hit me quickly.
The codename Durango, the new Xbox, may not have a disk drive. And this goes hand in hand with what we were talking about last week.
Yeah.
A lot of digital distribution stuff.
And also the
if
idea
this-
of used games being not available because of that potential.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, could buy GameStop.
exactly.
That is their business model, is use games.
Well, I don't think GameStop will go under based on Microsoft.
Well, yeah.
Obviously, brick and mortar stores are going to become in shorter of supply, but between the PC gaming market, which is continuing to move towards that digital distribution, you can still buy a box. The Sony doesn't seem like it's going to stop making discs. Nintendo certainly won't. They have a very good relationship with GameStop, so that will probably keep them alive. But the interesting thing would become, one of the big issues people had with Sony is the lack of backwards compatibility. You take away a disk drive, you suddenly have no backwards compatibility unless you go out and buy the games digitally, which will become an issue for a lot of gamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that. When I was getting my PS3, I was like, hey, I want backwards compatibility, so I almost bought like a Gen 1 PS3 just because I wanted to play everything from PS2. I ended up actually not doing that, and I kind of regret it. Not kind of. Well, no, I have a PS2, so it didn't really affect me. But if I ever didn't have that, like, if I get the next Xbox, I'm not gonna have a 360 as well.
Of course not.
PS2 takes up the size. It's like the size of a book. It doesn't take up very much space. That Xbox 360 is a fucking encyclopedia. It's, it's crazy big. I mean, I'm not gonna keep both for any reason. I want the backwards compatibility, but that's something that Microsoft has never really been that keen on. Like, when the Xbox 360 first came out, only certain things were backwards compatible, unless you got like one of those like crazy disc thingies that allowed you to use more stuff from the original Xbox. But yeah, that's gonna be something that I'm not a fan of.
The only way I feel like Microsoft will be able to save face is if you could somehow get your disk data onto a iCloud system or the Windows Cloud, whatever the fuck it's called, and then just play it that way. But then it becomes this big old thing where I have to do all this work just to be able to play Halo.
Yeah, and I mean, there was another news story that came up recently about Mass Effect 3 and how people who have their save data on the cloud are not able to bring their save data into Mass Effect 3 if it is from the cloud. That it is unable to do that. So I'm
the
not sure
save data from Mass Effect 3 or
from 2.
Okay,
bring it into 3 to continue your character story.
Yeah, because BioWare's really big on that. Play our other games and we'll give you bonuses.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not able to bring in the cloud save. You have to do it from an actual disk drive save. You can't do it from a cloud save, which is causing people a lot of issues, and people aren't too happy about that. So, if that actually happens with the next Xbox and they're not able to use the cloud to bring stuff across, it may be a bit difficult. but we'll see how that works out.
I think that Microsoft would be smart to add a disc drive.
Definitely. I mean,
Even if they don't have any games that are on disc for the new system and you have to get them digitally, put a disc drive in, because if you don't have backwards compatibility, look at Sony. They were very, very bad right out of the gate.
it would be far too much of a risk, especially at this point in the game. Retailers are still going strong, relatively speaking, and digital distribution is not quite there yet. So jumping right into this at the moment, I don't think is the best idea.
Especially when these systems, they're not going to suddenly drop down to $100.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are going to stay in that $250 to $300 range for a little while when the new systems come out, unless of course they wait like 2 years to do that.
Yeah. But I think they will generally.
When the PS3 came out, they had they're really gimmicky. If you get this model, you can run PS1 games. This model will run some PS2 games, etc.
Yeah.
The PS2 had been out for a long time. It was probably like 10 years or something, and you could get a used PS2 Slim for like $50. I can go out and buy one for $20 now, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So that, in that sense, Sony was okay, although I don't agree with the lack of backwards compatibility, and especially when I think they're still putting games out on PS2 right now.
They are.
I'm not mistaken.
They are. PS2 is
So,
ridiculous system. I don't understand.
When you think of that, I mean, the PS2 is still amazing, and if you suddenly put that gap where it says you can't put the 360 games on this console, people are still going to be buying those games. Like, the 360 will still be around, 2-3 years down the road until the next gen consoles kind of lower in price and become more accessible to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just get rid of that market on your new system, that's a huge thing. Backwards compatibility is one of those things where it's like, okay, I'll give you my 360 at GameStop or whatever. You'll give me $150 off the new console for it. It becomes a much more manageable purchase, and you're not losing, I know people who have, hundreds of dollars in video game library that they're not going to have wasted because they can't play them on the new console, and then they're going to be like, nah, I don't want to go. I'll stay here at something I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, that will be a problem, so we'll see how it happens. I highly doubt that this is true, because if it was, shit wouldn't go well for Microsoft, so they want to keep things as good as they can. They're the market leaders at the moment in terms of sales, so they should try and keep that going.
And the other thing is, do you really want to lose the ability to play? I mean, this is like a small thing, but still like a thing. How many of you guys use like your Xbox for like a DVD player? I mean, I did for the longest
I never
time.
even considered that one.
Yeah, you don't want to have that's another huge mark. I mean,
when you think about it, those machines are become really accessible in price, and Netflix has become such a huge thing.
Netflix is a massive thing.
Where I don't think that would become a huge deal, but that was extremely interesting point that you brought up.
Well, the PS3 has a clear advantage there because of Blu-ray.
Half of the stuff I use my PS3 for is to watch movies.
Yeah.
So, if I suddenly didn't have that option and I had to go out and buy a $100, Blu-ray player on top of a new system, that suddenly becomes two major purchases for somebody who might not necessarily have that kind of money. And then you'll suddenly see the 3DS kind of market where, this system's been out for 3 months, let's drop the price.
Yeah.
And none of those publishers want that, especially on a home console. Handhelds, you can kind of get away with it because they're lower in price to begin with.
Yeah.
But if you have a console that comes out at, $500, I think that was what the 360 came out as.
PS3 was $600, I think.
I think the
gigabyte model. So
yeah, I think the high one was $600, and
crazy.
you have to go at least 6 months at that price, or you are suddenly going to be bleeding out money, and it's going to hurt your developer. So when you put that out, obviously they know they're not going to be able to put, a $600 price tag for 2 years. But if the longer they're able to get that kind of money for their system, that's the better off they're going to be. They're going to put that money into their publishers to say, EA, for example, can put that money into their next title, or, kind of help those indie devs kind of be like, okay, we have a market here. Let's kind of push our efforts toward this system, which it's interesting to see if, especially if they reveal the next 360 at E3, if they'll put a price tag on it at E3, because they kind of talked about it with the Wii U a little bit, I believe, because I'm going back a year now, so my memory's a little off.
Yeah.
But they're not going to say, $600. They might say it might be in the $500-$600 price range, and then you kind of get that mindset. You can't put that kind of price tag on something without giving you a reason to do so. You can't get rid of the 360 crowd. It's too big of a market, and it will continue to be a big market for the next few years. I mean, if you're continuing to put out stuff on the PS3, probably 14 years later, whatever it was when it came out, yeah, you can't just abandon that market. So I don't think they'll get rid of a disc drive. I think that's something, even if it's a last-minute thing, putting in a disc drive is not a huge deal.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean,
they're definitely gonna need.
If they're going to have a disc drive, then Blu-ray support is really necessary. I think for the next console, because PlayStation, Sony have done so well with the PS3, especially nowadays, because Blu-ray is becoming increasingly popular. More and more people are moving over. I mean, back when the PS3 launched, hardly any people had Blu-ray players, and it was very scarce. So that's
a Blu-ray
the thing.
video was probably around $50 when the PS3 first came out.
Exactly, and the prices have gone down now. Everything's a lot cheaper for Blu-ray in general.
I think I can go to Walmart and get a brand new Blu-ray for like $22 now, which is what you were paying.
That's crazy.
And if you go to Walmart, you can get really cheap ones. Like the really cheap ones that are just like bare bones Blu-ray, like for $10, depending on the movie.
But I mean, the PS3 has a really good Blu-ray player. It's an excellent player. It also has internet access, so it can update Blu-ray stuff and drivers and everything, which is fantastic as well. And it's a really good deal because you're getting a console and this new high-tech, movie viewing system for just in one box. And I mean, the main reason why I have a PS3 is because my sister wanted a Blu-ray player, and we were looking at good Blu-ray players. And I mean, if you want a good Blu-ray player, you want to spend at least £100-150 around that kind of region. I was thinking, you know what? Look at this. PS3 is £200 on Amazon, and it has all the stuff that I want to play, third-party stuff. There's great PS3 titles I want to play, and you can also get the Blu-ray player. It's one of the best Blu-ray players on the market. It has everything in it, and that is a really solid deal, I feel. And it's another thing that helps with Sony's push as the machine that does everything, because it really does when you have that Blu-ray included in it. So
yeah, that was a big selling point for a lot of people when it came out, and from that moment until now is a really big selling point, especially for kids and parents who go, oh, we want to get a Blu-ray player. And the kid goes, hey, PS3, what's up? Microsoft had that opportunity too. Unfortunately, no one bought HD DVDs.
Yeah.
HD DVDs are now dead.
Yeah, they died.
One way to look at it too is, I think you can get a Blu-ray player for an average about $100.
A good one, anyway.
A good one for around that price. The PS3 currently sells at $299. So you're essentially paying, if this is how you want to look at it, $200 for a console instead of
basically
$300 for a 360 and then $100 for a Blu-ray player. Sony, in the last couple of years, since Little Big Planet came out, have done the greatest job of marketing. They had the little black kid when he had the PSP. Those commercials were always really cool.
I think we got those commercials, so I haven't seen that.
It was basically like
he was like the actor.
He was like, I'm the biggest badass ever. I have a PSP. Get one.
Yeah,
nice.
Essentially,
he was like the kid version of Chuck Testa. But their marketing scheme right now is fantastic. I don't know who the guy is that does those commercials. If that's just an actor, or if it's I don't know enough about Sony to make an assumption. But those commercials are just marketed so beautifully. They're like the Old Spice commercials. Everybody loves the Old Spice commercials. You know, I'm on a horse. Like, if Sony didn't have the marketing scheme that they
Microsoft
have,
should get Terry Crews to do Xbox commercials.
you know what? It would help them even more than they're doing right
I
now.
know.
And
Everyone would be like, shit, gotta get one.
But quite frankly, if Sony didn't have the marketing team they have right now, they would not be doing as well as they are. Their It Only Does Everything campaign has been huge for them. Unfortunately, it doesn't do everything anymore because they took out the ability to put Linux on it, so it doesn't double as a computer. But, you know...
Still, it's a fucking solid machine.
I had mine set up to be a Linux machine as well.
Wow.
It was a netbook, like one of those 10-inch things that...
Yeah.
That was my computer. It couldn't do a lot of things, and I was like, I need a computer. I'll put Linux on my PS3. Boom. Then it did everything.
Wow.
But
that's killer.
All killer, no filler.
But I believe MBZ has something about a UK GameStop story.
Yeah, well, I mean, the retailer in the UK are known as Game, all in caps, and they're, I think, the two main retailers of video game stuff in general are Game and GameStation, and I believe they're both owned by the same company. But basically, a few weeks back, there was this issue where they announced that they wouldn't be stocking Mass Effect 3. And people were like, what the hell's going on here? Like, this is like one of the biggest releases of the entire year. What the hell are you doing? And they basically were saying that they're having money troubles and they cannot afford to be getting all these copies of Mass Effect 3 in. It's basically gonna screw them over if they do. And they're facing just a lot of financial trouble. And what's come out recently, I think yesterday, the report was that Game are now facing administration. So they essentially have 2 weeks to improve their numbers, or they could end up in administration, which would kind of screw them completely. And it would basically leave the UK with no dedicated video game retailer on the street, which is kind of a crazy thing to think about. It's really, I guess, a bit unexpected. I thought this would happen, of course. It's something that's inevitable, that the retailers are going to fall out of business. But so soon, like now, happening now, like what the hell? It's crazy.
This is something that, if anybody watches Total Biscuit, he kind of touches on this a fair amount, because it's something that gets brought up in the mailbox from time to time. He believes that eventually we're all going to be getting all of our stuff digitally. He doesn't think it's going to happen anywhere in the next 10 years, because when you think about it, internet connections can't handle all of that data. I mean, you think about it, a Blu-ray disc, I believe, is a couple 100 gigabytes.
It's a
Me,
lot.
personally, in Canada, I have a monthly bandwidth that I'm allowed to use. I would be able to download one game. So,
Yeah.
internet has to improve dramatically for that to become a thing. And then on top of that, you got to deal with speeds. Canada has one of the worst speeds in the world. Unless you're living in like Estonia or one of those European countries that have really, really good internet, or in like Korea,
cheap prices.
It's not something that's going to happen. And if suddenly you don't have a store, and if I'm correct, Game and the Game Station in the UK are kind of seen as a negative thing by a lot of people, very similar to GameStop here.
Exactly.
But if you take that away from somebody, they're not going to be too happy. And if we've learned anything from the Sopa and Pippa campaign, you don't want to mess with a gamer that's upset, because there were
big stuff happen.
When they finally band together to do something, they do it right. So, and I'm sure even Tobiscuit, who I believe he's very open in his disdain for Game and Game Station, would not be happy about not being able to get a brick and mortar store.
Yeah, definitely.
Granted, he's moving to the U.S., so he wouldn't really care.
Is he actually moving to the U.S.? That's crazy.
He is coming for a few months at least. He mentioned this in a vlog a couple weeks ago, because he's got a bunch of stuff going on out here. I believe he's coming for IPL 4. In fact, he should already be here, and by here I mean in the States.
Yeah.
So he should be down here for a few months at the minimum, and hopefully he can work out that kind of stuff so he can stay with his wife. But that's kind of his personal business that has nothing to do with the stream.
Yeah.
No.
That's a little too far off track, you guys.
Little
It's
bit.
not a Total Biscuit podcast. However,
As much as we all
you
wish
could-
Total Biscuit would show up and be like,
Yo.
he could just come in and say, "I am the Archmage of the entire universe," and leave. My life would be complete.
I'll make it happen for next week. Don't worry.
Yeah. But
That's not a promise.
this game station thing is definitely going to be it's going to be bad, I think, for stuff with the retail.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like that being a possibility of a situation anytime soon. That is insane to not be able to go out to a store and purchase a game.
I mean, there are other places, there are shopping markets, malls and
Right.
stuff that do that, and there's also HMV, which they're basically they do
We have
CDs.
HMV here,
yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, there's HMV here, and they do lots of game stuff as well, and used games and all that stuff as well. So I mean, there is places to go and get them, but you no longer have a dedicated store, which it's a strange world.
It's a bit of a strange feeling, but I mean, one of the ironies is that you go into a GameStop in North America. I had a big issue with this when I lived in the Midwest of the United States. The people that worked in those stores had no idea. I would come in there asking a question, like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't actually play games.
Yeah.
So
it's funny
when you think about it. It's the little like locally owned stores that always know. There was a store when I lived in Nebraska. It was called Gamer, and there were like 3 of them in all of Omaha, I believe. There was like a very small amount. You could go in there and just talk games for hours upon hours, and they would have like all of these old school systems set up in the back. They'd be playing like Super Mike Tyson, you know.
Yeah, Mike Tyson Punch Out.
Like they had everything, and of course you could get new games. But those were the stores that you would want to go in to get the retro gaming feel, which unfortunately
we had a couple
those
of those here.
are not as common, which is really sad because as somebody who grew up with, you know, the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis era, the 16-bit consoles, I enjoyed them immensely. I think the Super Nintendo is one of, if not the greatest system ever created, and if I had the opportunity to, I would go and buy one. Unfortunately, between money issues and the fact that I have nowhere to get one from, it just kind of adds. I mean, I go to eBay, but I want to go into a store like Gamer like I had in Nebraska, and I just sit there for like 2 hours just shooting the shit with the guy, and then leave, and then I'd have to be satisfied. If I go into GameStop and the person doesn't even know what Assassin's Creed is, and I want to pre-order it, it's kind of disappointing.
It is, yeah.
Because
I know exactly what you mean.
You kind of expect the people that work at these stores to
They should
play
have
games.
some level
a lot
of
of them
knowledge,
don't, and it's you can't go into a store as a say a parent who wants to buy their kid a present and be like, ask the guy at the counter, what would you recommend for a 16-year-old boy? I mean, obviously they'd be like Call of Duty.
Exactly.
But, if
everyone knows
you say
that.
he doesn't like Call of Duty, they'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, fortunately for me, like that situation right now, the nearest GameStop to me is like a 5-minute drive, they're like crazy nerdy to a fault almost. They know everything about everything and have played everything in that goddamn store. I swear it.
Yeah.
And as far as like retro gaming stores, I miss so much. If I wanted to find one, I'd have to drive at least an hour and a half out of my way to find one. And not only that, they would be way too disgustingly overpriced.
Yeah.
We used to have a couple. It was called Game Cage, and you could go in and buy. Everything was really reasonable, aside for like systems were, kind of out of whack. Like they wanted a couple $100 for like a Dreamcast. I'm like, fuck you. Oh, take mine from my brother. He doesn't play it. So I mean, they had all the classic games. They had Dreamcast, Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, everything. I mean, they had the newer console stuff, but that was they overpriced that stuff. But everything else was really reasonable priced. Unfortunately, I think it was right around the time when GameStop started like merging with all the other companies like Babbage's and stuff. And, in EB Games and all those companies, and then like Game Cage there was like 3 Game Cages in my area, and one by one they just got shut down because they could not compete with GameStop.
I do not think that I have any like sort of rogue game stores anywhere around. I mean, there might be some randomly somewhere, but I don't think that's something too common.
Honestly,
in the UK.
I think the closest thing I would have to drive to like Buffalo, New York. That'd be like a 4-hour drive from where I live now, and I'd have to go to where Trade Chat works because she actually has that kind of stuff. But other than that, I mean, I pawn shops I think would be the closest thing, which is sad.
Yeah.
And the irony is, those old school gaming consoles have suddenly become collectibles. Like, right? It's not something you up and buy to play. It's something you obviously could play it, but if you want to play them, you get an emulator for free. You don't have to leave the house.
Yeah.
But it's sad, especially as from the generation that kind of grew up with those systems, to not have them easily accessible. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Single tear down the cheek.
What are we? Where were we again? What were we talking about?
We were talking about gaming. Going out of business, which
we were talking about no disk drive and
everything
evolved into this.
But
no, and then no game in your country. How bad that is.
A country it has no game. It's bad. It's bad.
It's bad.
It's very
no
now,
games for you.
The final
no.
topic of the day.
We
have actually gone a little bit longer than we did on the last podcast, which is okay.
That's fine.
But there is some interesting stuff, and I want to talk about DLC a little bit. And the reason for this is 2 very, very recent releases. I'm talking the last couple of days, some extreme bullshit that has gone on. First and foremost, I'm talking about Mass Effect 3. I am sorry, when you have day 1 DLC, I do not approve of that. If it's free DLC, that's fine. But there's absolutely no reason to put a game out with additional content you have to buy. So
yeah,
if you put the game out, even hold on to the DLC and just don't release it for like 2 weeks. I'm okay with that. Don't do it the same day. If it can be on the disc on release, do not make me pay an additional $15 for it.
Yeah.
As a gamer, that's pissing me off, especially when there's a lot of stuff about Mass Effect 3 that I don't like already. Now you're just kind of adding to it. It's like, now I don't even want to buy your game, which is sad because Mass Effect is a fantastic franchise. And from what I've seen from people, not review sites, because review sites are typically balance you towards kind of buying new games. Usually they're a little bit more biased in that sense. But friends that I know and gamers in general, they're not extremely happy with Mass Effect 3. They don't like the ending. They don't like a lot of the
Wild Chase.
Crap. They don't like a lot of the gimmicky crap with it. It's sad.
No,
and I agree with somebody in the chat says they blame EA. EA and Activision are absolutely terrible companies.
They're ruining BioWare's just reputation by just shoehorning marketing all across the sky.
Which is like, I can't even say at least Star Wars Republic doesn't have that.
It's literally all across the sky. They sent fucking copies into space. What the hell? Like, it's ridiculous, the marketing that they've done on this game. But going back to the DLC, I think that there is a distinct difference if you release DLC based on the single-player campaign and based on just a multiplayer thing. Because I think if it's a multiplayer thing, it's not all that important. If it's a single-player downloadable thing and affects the story and has, something, it makes a difference if you have it in your single-player game, that is outrageous. That is something that you shouldn't do. I mean, because you want the whole game. You want the experience. In one thing.
Like I said.
Multiplayer thing, you can just, whatever. You don't have to mess around with it if you don't want to. It's a completely separate issue. So, that's what I guess people.
I mean, it's like Batman. I mean, you basically had to have the Catwoman DLC to play the game, the new Arkham City.
Game.
But they didn't charge more for it.
But the thing is, if you bought that game used, you didn't get that.
Yeah, I know. You're fucked.
You had to go out and buy that, which
I know.
I don't like that model. I mentioned this last week. I'm fine if you have, the Madden, or I believe almost every EA Sports game has this now.
Yeah.
Where if you buy the game used, you have to pay an additional like $6 to play online, which is why most people buy those games anyway. So in the end, you're still saving money. But as far as DLC goes, a terrible example. Street Fighter X Tekken just came out. All of the DLC that's currently available for that game is on the disc when you buy it. You pay $60, it's on the disc. Typically you get DLC, they add that content to your game. All of this stuff is there, they're making you pay extra for it anyway. And it just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
If this is on the disc anyway, why do I have to pay an extra amount of money for it?
It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just...
It's
like
that
a
is
black
worse
market.
than the Mass Effect model. At least the Mass Effect crap isn't there. It should be there, but that's not something I can.
Yeah, but it's not
force
something.
upon EA.
It's not something that hackers can go and get just because it doesn't exist. Whereas this, you can go hack it away and get everything you want if you're so inclined. But it is ridiculous. It is crazy. I think it is more ridiculous for being on these home consoles which have such good online integration that, it's stupid to have it on the disc in the first place because it's so easy to put it out as downloadable content for people. Everyone who downloads stuff has good internet access anyway. It's very understandable with something like, for example, there was downloadable content on the DS for the Professor Layton games. Now, what they basically did with that was they released one puzzle every day, and that was just basically it was unlocking on the cartridge a new puzzle, and that's understandable. I find that's okay, simply because of the fact that Nintendo with the DS had no way of giving you downloadable content to save to a flash card. It was impossible for them to do that. So by them having it on the game and basically unlocking it as you download each day, that's fine because their actual hardware and their software, everything was not built around having things download to the system. It was built around unlocking stuff, and that's fine, and it was all free, and there was nothing wrong with that. But this is something completely different, which is really no excuse at all, and it's kind of ridiculous.
It's appalling. As a responsible consumer, I have said I am not going to support this kind of garbage. I will not buy Street Fighter X Tekken, which is a game that I really wanted.
It looks really good as well. It looks fantastic.
When I saw this information, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, it's one thing that they have costumes that are DLC. I'm okay with that. If you really want to spend the extra money for costume, that's very similar to, say, buying a skin for $5 or $10 on League of Legends. It's a cosmetic thing. That's fine. But when you already have these characters, like these DLC characters, they're on the thing. Please, just for the love of God, use the Super Smash Brothers model. Make them unlockable by yourself. Don't make me pay $4 to play Mega Man on Street Fighter X Tekken.
It's ridiculous. And Soul Calibur has this issue as well with downloadable characters. I had to pay £3 something for Yoda. I was going to do it anyway. It's fucking Yoda. I want him, but you made me pay £3 for Yoda. That is actually more than half of the price I paid for the game. I got Soul Calibur 4 for £6 used, and I paid £3.80 for fucking Yoda. More than half.
One of the terrible things in that sense is, and it's terrible the fact that it's happened to BioWare. If you look at BioWare's older games, Dragon Age Origins is a perfect example. You go out and buy the Game of the Year edition or whatever it is, the collector's edition, whatever it's called now, you have every piece of DLC that came out with that game. You no longer have to buy it. Soul Calibur 4 came out a fair bit a while ago.
Yeah, a long time ago, yeah.
I don't know if they have that same system where, they have the greatest hits or the collector's edition. You buy this, all of the DLC
No, there wasn't a lot of DLC for Soul Calibur 4. It was, I think, just because the PS3 version had Vader exclusive and the 360 one had Yoda exclusive. I don't think they actually allowed you to have the other character for a while, but then after a while they released it as paid DLC, just so that you could complete it, I guess.
I mean, especially in terms of fighting games, if you're big on fighting games, you are either an attempting to be an esport competitive fighting game player, or you just play with friends. There's really only two reasons to get the game. You're not going to do it so you can, beat the story, unlock everything. You get it because it's something you can pick up, play for 10 minutes, just beat the crap out of something, you feel happy about it. If I'm going to pay $60 for that game, which is it's a AAA title, it's going to be $60 no matter what. I don't want to have to spend additional money for something that's really not going to be that big of a deal, unless especially if you're doing competitive stuff. I'm pretty sure I don't follow fighting game esports very much, but I don't think they have unlockable characters in their competitions.
Really?
So
that's slightly ridiculous.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't follow it. I think that would make more sense.
But I doubt they would do that because
if it's something that's extremely broken, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do it. When you think about it, if it's Street Fighter, you're typically going to be playing like Ryu, Ken.
Yeah, but what happens when the best player in the world is playing as an unlockable or downloadable character? You can't really shun them because of that. I don't think that's really...
I think if it gives somebody an unfair advantage, I think especially in terms of an esports system, you have to mediate it to be as equal as possible for everybody involved. So, using a fighting game as an example, you can't have a PC fighting. It's not going to work. You're going to have to do it on a console where everybody's running at 30 FPS with the same ping no matter what. It's different in a LAN situation if you're at DreamHack or an IEM stop where everything is set up on a server right where you are. Your ping's like 12 no matter what. So everybody has that sense of equality. But if suddenly you have somebody that has, say Ryu was an unlockable character and you basically could play him and just win all the time, I would think in a competitive scene he would be banned outright to keep things fair for everybody involved. Because if you look at, competitive sports that are in the MOBA scene, they always have a banning and counter-picking situation where you have that ability to balance the odds in your favor in one way or the other. But without making it to the point where I'm going to play the most broken, overpowered piece of crap and then make $50,000 by...
Yeah, it's the same thing with Pokemon as well, the tiering system. It makes sense.
That's a great example, especially for the fan base that we have here.
Yeah.
It's suddenly, if Arceus... If there was no tiers, everybody would run Arceus.
Yeah. Kyogre, actually, but yeah.
Well, I don't play Uber. So
yeah, Kyogre's the brokenest fucking douchebag in the world.
There you go. You want to keep it fair in any sort of competitive situation, especially if it's an official esport, which fighting games aren't as big of a market as, say, StarCraft or League of Legends or Counter-Strike, but they're growing. A lot of times they're local events. I know that Smash Brothers is like that in a very big sense. They don't have any major tournament scene at the moment.
A lot of it's underground. Melee especially is very underground.
So
there's a lot more, out in the open competitively, but
which is why I think you have to intermediate it in a much bigger sense.
They have bans on that with characters. They ban meta. That was a very recent thing that happened. So I guess they do mediate it in that sense.
Because I'm trying to think of. If you look at Counter-Strike, that is a game of pure skill. It's not Call of Duty where you get 20 kills and you just send attack dogs at everybody. You sit in a corner and let everything else do the work for you. You have to go around and kill stuff yourself, which is why it is one of the... It's the only true competitive FPS, in my opinion, because it is completely based on skill and not based on kill streak rewards, etc.
Playing and, prestiging and everything.
That's another thing too. Of course, if you're playing at a competitive level, you're probably going to be max level and have everything unlocked anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. Competitive gaming is an interesting situation in its own right. I could talk about this for a long time, but I feel like I would ramble on a bit too much, and I've done that too many times today already.
I think maybe we should touch just before we end on Assassin's Creed 3 and the news from that. what's come out recently, because there was the new trailer that was released, I believe, a few days ago.
It's pretty recent.
It's pretty recent, but there was a new trailer released for Assassin's Creed 3, and it is basically looking like it is going to be set in the American Revolution, and you'll be playing through a new character whose name, I think he has a weird name, but he's going to be referred to as Connor. He's going to be referred to as Connor, I believe, and is the environment type stuff looking like it's going to be much more wooded, as you know, there was lots in the trailer, jumping through trees as opposed to kind of building clambering type thing. So that seems like the more sort of type of setting that's going to be happening in this game.
I do know the cities that they're using for Assassin's Creed 3 are going to be Boston and New York, so they will have, you know, the bigger cities in that time period. So there should be some
good variety, I guess.
Some decent city action going on. But I do know a lot of people were a little bit concerned when Assassin's 3 kind of was announced it was going to be the American Revolution. They're like, but Assassin's Creed is about climbing tall buildings.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Well, obviously you're going to be running around in trees. But
which sounds very cool, and I think it could be very complex and, you know, very interesting by doing that.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty stoked about this game. I actually haven't played any of the Assassin's Creed games. I just never get talked into it, but I always got talked out of it. And Game Informer had, you know, it's their, you know, cover this month. And I'm looking through it, and it looks like you're going to do, like, a lot of scaling mountains.
That would be very cool.
Mountains, woods.
I see a lot of potential in the game, especially when it's going to be New York to Boston. That's a lot of ground. And there's, especially in that time period, there's so much awesome nature that you can do. So I do feel like there's a lot of potential there. Obviously, it's an Assassin's Creed game, so you'll play it for like 2 hours, and you'll have to put it down because you're tired of doing the same thing over and over. I'm probably going to get a little hate on that. I love the Assassin's Creed games. I've beaten almost all of them. I haven't beaten the latest one. And it's just one of those things where it is a very repetitive game. I'm sorry, it is. You just can't deny that, which is what turns a lot of people off of it.
Yeah, that's why I've never played one, actually.
I've
if
never
someone
played.
talks into it, I mean, I'll go out and get an old one, but, you know.
I'm very interested in the game.
You can go out and get Assassin's Creed 1 for like $10.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm really interested in the series in general, and I can go pick up the first game for £6 around the corner, easy as pie. But I mean, I have a crap ton of shit I need to get through on my PS3 before I even consider doing that. But I think the most interesting thing with Assassin's Creed 3, being a Nintendo fan in general, is that this is the first Assassin's Creed game that will come to a Nintendo console. It has been confirmed.
I read about that on Reddit earlier.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be one of the first games to be, I guess, truly multi-platform, because it will literally be on all three formats in terms of this generation. Sort of thing, and you know, discounting the sort of GameCube era, because there was lots of stuff that came out on GameCube and Xbox and PS2. But I mean, this will be the first HD multi-platform experience, really. And I'm very interested in what they're going to be doing with the Wii U version. Now, they have a set release date for all the other versions, and they kind of just say at the end, also coming to Wii U in the foreseeable future. Now, I'm not sure whether that means it's going to make Wii U launch or not. I certainly hope it does, because I think that by having that as a title on the Wii U launch, it's going to give Nintendo just a really good, you know, out the gate. They're going to be very, very beneficial to have a strong third-party title like that straight at the launch. So it would be great if they did make launch, but we'll wait to see if that does happen.
Ubisoft is a pretty successful company that you really want to try and push, especially when you're going to be making that leap from whatever the fuck the Wii is to HD.
480p.
You need that kind of. This is a beautiful game. All the Assassin's Creeds are beautiful games, and you need that kind of beauty to bring some extra people to your system. If you want a game that will blow your mind, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It is going to be the next game from Naughty Dog. Of course, they are
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us. The trailer that they have for that game, they expressed right in the beginning, this has been put on a PS3 console. Like, this is recorded straight from PS3.
Phenomenal. It
looks like a true CGI. It is, obviously, Naughty Dog has done that with Uncharted.
They know what they're doing graphically. They really
They took what they did with Uncharted and they expanded on it, which I didn't even think was possible. They took the PS3 to a new level, and
it looks unbelievable.
This is one of those things where it's like, well, how do you beat that? Like, next-gen consoles, you can't really beat that unless it's like 3D hologram, you're in the game.
Yeah.
So, from a graphic standpoint, I think
Basically,
we're pretty much...
feeling and scan your body.
Photorealism is the next stage, really, and then after that, it's like, go inside the game. That's as far as we can go, really.
I was actually watching Mind Flame stream last night, and somebody made a comment. It's like, I think it was Wild Krender was on the stream, and he's like, you know what? I hope they one day make, the Madden where you are like inside the helmet of a player, like you suddenly mind control painting, you control the game. I was like, I see a lot of problems with this. Suddenly games will be thrown, games will be like 100-0.
Yeah.
But it's, if someday you suddenly have something like that, Gerard Butler, the movie Gamer, suddenly something like that, you're controlling a human being comes, I'm never playing a video game again because I'll be too scared.
It'd be amazing. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 3 is going to be very interesting, I think. I think it's going to be good for lots of people who only own Nintendo systems, have the money to go out and get the other third-party stuff, because now they will have lots of good third-party stuff. I'm hoping that it will continue on Wii U, and I'm kind of interested in what they're going to be doing with the touchscreen and the extra screen, how they're going to integrate that into the game. There's lots of interesting stuff they can do. One of the most interesting things I find about the Wii U tablet is one of the games where I think the demo experience at E3 was is like this rhythm-based game where you have to catch like these darts that are shot at the screen, and you basically move the screen with the rhythm to get the dart shot at you, but you rotate 360, and the little screen will basically extend what you see on the TV, so it will be the same thing but in 360 degrees, every angle. You can move the Wii remote, like you can turn around, you can see what would be behind you if you were basically to be encapsulated in 3D space. So I think that has potential to be very, very interesting, and I'm wondering what they're going to do with it. If they just do, the stupid put a map screen on there, it would be a bit of a waste, I think. Because there's so much stuff that they can do. I mean, equipping stuff is easy and that sort of thing, but they can innovate with it too. I think it's going to be...
in the same sense, that would be the only way I think they could put that game out on the Wii U at launch, if they did in that sense, unless they have a separate division of Ubisoft working on this and this alone.
Yeah, and I mean, they said at E3, Ubisoft said there will be an Assassin's Creed game on the Wii U, and this is basically it. So they have known for a significant amount of time that Assassin's Creed 3 was going to be a Wii U launch title, or not a launch title, but a Wii U title, but we're not quite sure how much longer it had been in development before then. So we don't know, in terms of whether Wii U version is in comparison to the other ones and how far along it is, but we'll see how that all works out.
And that's actually going to be the really interesting thing to watch out for. The big name developers, are they going to suddenly have a separate division for the Wii U? Because obviously the game is going to be different than the PS3 and the 360 version, or whatever the new consoles are if they end up going in that route. Or if they are going to put the game out first on the the more standardized consoles and then go to the Wii U with their entire team and tweak what they need to tweak, etc., and then put it out a couple months later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Nintendo would be wise to do that road. They really need to be able to keep up with release dates with the other consoles to be successful, I think. So suddenly you're going to see some potential jobs opening up in some new developers if you are going to just do the Wii, which is kind of cool, but at the same time it could be a little disastrous. When you think about it, the PS3 and the 360 had the same problem, and they're very similar, except the insides to do the graphical components were so vastly different that the PS3 3 was, suffering in graphics from titles that came out at the same time, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess that's something
Nintendo really has to do that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't afford to wait
Mm.
on big titles like such as
big
Assassin's
third-party
Creed.
titles, yeah.
I mean, Batman Arkham
That's
City is gonna.
title.
Yeah, Arkham
Obviously,
City is
Batman
going to
Arkham
come
City
out.
is like a year later.
It's a
but
year
that's
late, and that's going to come out. But I mean, I'm hoping that because that is so delayed, they're going to hopefully do lots of innovative stuff with the screen. I think what would be a really cool thing to do is to have the screen constantly in detective mode, so that you didn't have to switch on the actual TV screen. You could just quickly flick your remote up, your tablet up, and just have a look via that screen in detective mode instead of having to switch all the time constantly, which would be a real
like
benefit.
that.
It would be very cool. And I may actually even wait until the Wii U version of Arkham City comes out. Depending on what the launch lineup is for the Wii U, I may well wait for the Wii U version of Arkham City, just because it will be a little bit more enhanced, and it will be specifically tailor-made. I think it would be an interesting thing to experience on that system, definitely. So
The problem is, by the time it comes out on the Wii U, you can get it on the PC or the other consoles for like $30.
Like 20
yeah,
bucks.
that is the problem. But as you
Yeah.
said before, the stuff with the Catwoman DLC is another pain in the ass that I'd have
Well,
to.
I'm talking brand new.
Well,
A year later, I mean,
that's brand new. You
A
can.
year later, it's gonna be like 30.
That is the
on
other thing.
On Steam over the holidays, I believe they had a 20% off sale during the winter sale. I think it was 20%. And the game was like 2 months old at that point.
Right.
So when you're saving 20% off on a brand new game,
Yeah, I mean,
that point-
might well come into it when it comes down to it, but we'll see. I'll see.
if they do it well, I don't think it'll matter. Obviously, it's going to be a $60 title, whatever they decide to do. I don't think that Wii titles are $60 on release. I think they're like 50, aren't they?
Yeah.
Wii U might be $60 releases though.
Well,
since
it's
now gonna be like HD.
It will.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
Definitely.
they're obviously going to have to pump up the price
Yeah.
a little bit.
How will fans react to that? Do you think it will be received well? I mean, they're used to paying less.
It's something that's inevitable, really. Like
When you
it
think
might
about it,
really go
I
up.
remember when the N64 came out. It was brand new. The games were the same price as every other console. I believe that time was like $80, but with the value of dollars changing, it was the same price as they are today in Essentialist. So when it went down on the Wii, I think it was because the Wii is just technologically inferior to every other console at this point.
Yeah.
So they can't put out $60 titles and expect to do well, especially when your console itself is like half the price of everything else.
Exactly.
If you're paying like $150, I think you can get a Wii brand new.
It's down to £99 here, I think. So.
I think the people that I rent from, they just bought a Wii the other day, and I think it was like $150.
Yeah.
So then you're suddenly paying $60 games, you're like, yeah, I saved $150 on this console, but it doesn't look as good as anything else. The games generally aren't as good based off the technology and the systems.
Whatever.
You're a Nintendo fan. I like Nintendo,
true.
but the fact of the matter is, if you look at a game on the 360 or
I would argue very differently, because you cannot argue the spectacular glory that is the Galaxy games. They look phenomenal. It doesn't matter if that was be on an HD system. It looks incredible on standard definition. So I mean, they know how to push the system. I know, but they know how to push the system. They know how to get the best out of it, and that's what they do. It's just unfortunate that other developers don't really have that the same sort of talent that Nintendo does in terms of making games look incredible on their system.
But you're also using a first-party title. I can use first-party titles on every other console.
I know, but
are still superior. So it's just the fact of the matter is, the Wii cannot do the things that the other consoles can do. They can't put out games at the same price as those consoles and expect to do well. Unfortunately, the Wii has that little issue where their prices don't go down on older games the same way they do on the other consoles. But that's not something we can really do.
So.
It's fine because they sell bucket tons, so they don't care. Yeah. Oh well, this is how it goes.
But I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. Obviously,
I'll
have
agree.
to go through our shameless promotions of ourselves.
Shameless plug.
Obviously, these two fellas here, they upload Pokemon. But I gotta ask you guys, is there anything special that you got planned this week? Anything that you want to create some buzz for in particular?
Pokemon.
Go ahead, MBZ.
So obviously,
What do
obviously
you
the
have
answer's
planned
no.
for this week?
Lance.
I have Pokemon Battle, guys.
Yeah, it's got Pokemon.
That's about it.
You know what? I don't know. I've got more Zelda coming out on my LP channel. That's more.
There you go. There's
interesting.
something to look out for.
Yeah, Twilight Princess is chugging along nicely. I actually got lots of essay due dates and shit this week, so I won't be uploading as much. But I will try and get out. I've got Zelda pre-recorded. I did the whole of the 4th dungeon, the Arbiter's Grounds, so that will be being released this week until I finish. I think I've got 4 more parts or 3 more parts to upload. Minecraft, I do need to get up as well. I've just been lazy with that, and it just takes a long time to render on my computer, which is why I'm lazy with it, because it kind of means I have to leave it to do its own thing while it renders.
Yeah, that's why I don't LP console games.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'll try and get Minecraft.
I mean, if you look at some of the stuff I have on my channel, my Star Wars The Old Republic stuff, my League of Legends, the longer League of Legends stuff anyway, or any of my, 15-minute plus videos, they take a long time to render, and I have a really good machine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a laptop, so it's not as good as if I had a desktop, which is
Laptops tend to
crossing-
overheat easily as well.
crossing
I'm waiting
fingers.
for my laptop to break so I can buy a nice desktop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is how I'm doing things right
I'm
now.
waiting for one of those, Saudi Arabian princes to email me and say, if I sign these forms, that he'll give me like $8 million.
Yeah.
One of these days, they'll be real.
Yeah, they will indeed.
Yeah.
And then I'll laugh at all of you for deleting those junk mail.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll have
as-
Minecraft up, and I'll have Zelda up, and I'll have
Yes.
PO live when I render that out. So that's what's
And
coming
of
up.
course, it's Facebook, Twitter,
My
anything else you want to...
Facebook is Lord MBZ, Facebook / Lord MBZ, and my Twitter is ENNBEEZED, NBZ. So at NBZ.
So, for my channel this week, once I finish Abobo's Big Adventure, I'm plugging the fuck out of it. I think I may eventually do an LP of it, because it's that fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that I want to do. There was a while ago I put out like a one-off of NBA Live '98. I still want to do an LP of that on my channel, so that may be coming soonish, maybe not this week, but definitely in the future. As always, there's Pokemon stuff, Pokemon Battles, Pokemon the trading card game, because I'm a trading card game nut, but I have not been putting out videos that often, because I've been doing a lot of playtesting since the metagame is crazy right now, and States is around the corner, and then around the corner again is Regionals. Regionals I will be competing in. So if you live in California and you're going to regionals, I'll be there.
Go get yourself a hug from Fizzy Stardust.
Yeah, do it.
Not?
Do it.
That will be in, I think, April's regionals. I'll be missing States since it's like an 8-hour drive to Long Beach. So other than that, Abobo's Big Adventure, maybe some crazy other game LP. There's the Pokemon LP, Pokemon card game, Pokemon Battles, all that stuff on my channel. Twitter, if you want to follow me, I hardly ever use it, but it's there.
buddy.
Twitter, it's at. I usually just to reblog these guys when we're doing the podcast mainly.
I used to use it a lot. I was sad.
Yeah.
I used to use it a lot. I'm going to try and use it again more often. I actually tweeted last night, so there you go. But it is at LFizz, that is ELFIZZ. I have a Tumblr. ZZ. I have a Tumblr. My Tumblr is where I spend most of my time. And if you want to follow me on Tumblr, it is... Oh, God, what is it?
Is it Elfizz?
Yeah,
is it Fizzy stuff?
No, it's TheFizz at thefizz.tumblr.com. THEFIZZ. And then I have the Facebooks. The Facebooks is facebook.com/FizzyStardust. So you can find me there, or on the YouTubes, youtube.com/FizzyStardust. And I think that's everything I got going.
Well, for me, I lately my uploads have pretty much just been, short little League of Legends clips. I do have 2 more proper videos coming out this week, planned anyway. They are going to be League of Legends related. I do have ideas for other things in the very near future. I would actually really love to be able to stream, either if it's just me grinding on some Star Wars or, a couple League of Legends games because I'm on it anyway. Unfortunately, my internet is not good enough to do that. But there's those things coming. Obviously, I have some other stuff coming up in the near future that I have secretly being planned, and I'm not going to tell you.
Secrets.
But as far as Twitter, I am at IronFiber, exactly the way you would think it's spelled. It's actually, I take that back. If you're Canadian,
If you're British,
actually,
then
if
you
you're
may
using
spell it
British or
differently.
Canadian spelling, it's actually Fiber the American way, E-R, not R-E. My YouTube channel is youtube.com/HighEndFiber21 because some jerk off took my name. And yeah, you'll
20
see.
jerk-offs took your name, actually.
No, 21's my favorite number. So,
Okay.
the other thing you'll see on my channel this week is the VOD of this video, or the stream, we should say. And I don't know what I'll do in terms of editing. I might do something special if I do feel so inclined. But it shouldn't just be what you see on your screen now. I will try and add little things in that we talk about during the show. And for those of you who have been watching, we thank you for your time. I do know that there are a lot of you who would like to share your thoughts on some of the topics that we have going on or ask us some questions. Unfortunately, we kind of didn't get a hold of McBoss in time, who graciously suggested
call
be our
screener,
pitch.
Yeah.
And I promise next time we will be
More organized?
suited to, more organized.
More
We'll be
prepared.
able to do this without having audio problems at the beginning, and we will have your input. We try and follow the chat as much as we can, but a lot of times when we're kind of going off on our tangents, we kind of
I
ignore
follow the chat a lot. Because
Yeah.
These two are the experts, and I know things, and I'm color guy. But I'm following the chat quite a bit.
Well,
There's a lot of
Zed's the color guy.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
wow.
that's racist.
Wow, okay.
Hey, I said I'm not Korean earlier. I don't,
No lines to be crossed. No lines.
the chat looked like they had a lot of fun talking about the friend zone and what was the other thing? Gamer girls.
Gamer
The chat's
girls.
fun. They
That's good.
love.
They
they're
have
having
nice
fun with
conversation while they listen to our conversation. It's a nice balance. So
as far as
as-
the next podcast, we will update you during the week.
Via
have to-
Twitter, Facebooks, all that stuff.
As far as Facebook goes, I am Sir Poops a lot on Facebook. Yes, I got that name because of Fizzy over there. Unfortunately,
I'm the idea guy, remember?
my Facebook isn't really used to much purpose because there's only like 4 people who like me. So it's pretty
No
much
one
just my
liked you.
Twitter link. That's fine. It's easier for me to use Twitter anyway.
yeah,
So if you want news and stuff, if you have Facebook and don't have Twitter, all of my Twitter stuff automatically goes on Facebook, so you can follow along that way. And I do more than just my uploads. I probably spammed anybody who has me with IEM stuff this morning at like 8 a.m. So all of that kind of stuff you can check out. Obviously, check out these 2 guys who were gracious enough to join me on this venture. Obviously, promote myself shamelessly. Check out my stuff. Subscribe. Anyway, I think that's it. Unless anybody has some final thoughts.
Yes, as always, if you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section of this video when it is posted on YouTube.
Mhm.
Who
Because
have constructive criticism. I've had some great ones in the comments. I do cipher through them. I don't always reply to them all. But there were some mentions that there were some audio issues. I have redone my drivers that should be fixed. I'll try and equalize the microphone levels and all of that. So Might be a few days before this is up.
And also, just a quick update on the iTunes version. I did manage to get the podcast up on iTunes. It's a very laborious process, and it is a lot more complicated than one would think to get something onto iTunes. But I did manage to get it up there. The only problem is that it's too popular, and everyone has downloaded it. And now, if you download it, you get a 23-second clip of a man telling you to go and donate to us because we don't have the bandwidth to support more downloads. So,
not that we have anything again. If you want to donate us some money, we can put
that towards the podcast feed. But no, I think I will talk to Elo about how he does the Meta podcast and hopefully sort that out with ease, get the feed going again, and hopefully you'll be able to download it to iTunes much more easily.
Yeah, because only 3 people downloaded it?
Yeah, basically.
We downloaded it ourselves, and we basically screwed you guys over.
Yeah.
I already had it, but I downloaded it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I pointed someone to it last night, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh shit."
I would like to thank NBZ for doing all that laborious work because
thank you, Zed.
That's right.
Not only do I not have any clue of what I would be doing,
it's a bitch.
I am just way too lazy to
I looked
deal with
into
that
it
as well.
before, and I knew it was something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
So thanks.
It's alright. It's alright.
But thank you guys so much for showing up today. Like I said, updates during the week for the next one. It's just shameless promotion of Congressional Wombat for the drawing that you've been looking at for the last 2 hours almost.
Zoe.
Exactly.
She's killer boss man.
All killer, no filler. Damn straight.
And of course, any constructive criticism that you guys might have, you can post on the comments of this. You can tweet us, anything of that nature. Help us improve so that we continue to bring you what we hope to be a relatively okay podcast.
Indeed.
And we'll continue to grow.
Okay.
Relatively okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. So.
Yeah.
But
Very nice.
for myself and probably from these two, thank you again. I am saying goodnight. I'll let these two say goodnight as well. And
Good afternoon, because it's not quite nighttime yet.
Good morning, because it's actually 12 a.m. So yay!
well, we got morning, afternoon, and evening. So
we are multicultural. Hell yeah! And with that, goodbye. Use this as outtakes. That'll be good.